Hello and welcome to Good Deeds, a quarterly update, a quarterly look at the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds. Joining me, as in programs past, is the Registrar of Deeds here in Norfolk County. That would be Bill O'Donnell. Bill, welcome back.
Mark, thanks very much for having me, and as always, thanks to Quincy Access Television for putting this on, and thanks to the people from Quincy that welcome us into their homes. And that's what we deal with at the registry. Is the biggest asset most people have are their homes, and it's always great to bring some information about what's going on with the recordings and statistics like that here in Norfolk County, Quincy being the biggest city, the biggest community in Norfolk County.
Because we do, as you mentioned, we look at Quincy, we look at how Quincy fits in with Norfolk County, and then you can't help but just see how that works into the national trend.
Well, yes, and for this show, we're looking at the first quarter, and for those people out there, the first quarter is January, February, and March, and like the first quarter, our first quarter is much like the Red Sox start. It's here. It's been sluggish and not very pretty. So hopefully the Red Sox will turn it around, and hopefully the spring brings better statistics anyway when it comes to real estate. And the reason I say that is when you look at the 3 months from 2018 to 2019, for instance, we look at total document volume, and in 2018, there was 30,641 documents recorded January, February, March. And when you look at the same period in 2019, it's 27,962, again, countywide. So that's down 2,679, or 9%. And Quincy kind of mirrors that. In 2018, within the community here of Quincy, there was 3,129 documents recorded over January, February, and March. But over that same 3-month period in 2019, it was 2,729 documents, or down 400, or roughly 13%. And that's the total document volume, but it shows a trend in other statistics. For instance, if we look at deeds, the total deeds that were recorded in Norfolk County, the total deeds were 3,525 in 2018. In 2019, 3,374, down 151 deeds, down 4%. And in Quincy, there was 490 deeds recorded in 2018, 420 in 2019, down 70, down 14%. So you could see it has been sluggish, and then it gets reflected elsewhere. The prices, for instance, and again, I always point out our prices combine commercial and residential, and sometimes we've had some big sales in Weymouth with the compressor station. So when we look at these prices, we got to remember it's commercial and residential, but it was down. The average sale price, commercial and residential countywide, was $953,988.79 in 2018, and it was down to $734,773, or down almost $220,000, or 23%. And in Quincy, there was a bigger drop. Again, commercial and residential, $959,934.36 being the average sale price in 2018. $510,177 over 2019. Again, this 3-month period, and again, that's down almost $450,000, or down 47%. Now, what would bring that on? I think some of it is the interest rates could, but January, February, and March traditionally have been down, and it's kind of reflected in that. And if there's less deeds being recorded, usually there's less mortgages being recorded. And again, in 2018, there were 5,155 countywide. 28 communities make up Norfolk County, and it was down to 4,532 in 2019, or down 623 mortgages, or down 12%. And again, Quincy mirrored that. There was 559 borrowings or mortgages in 2019, 451 in 2019, over this 3-month period, are down 108, or about 19%. So it's been down. It's been down as far as deeds, it's been down as far as document volume, it's down as average sale price, and it's been down as far as mortgages. The good news is, folks, and I think a lot of it we can attribute to your television show, recording homesteads. Homesteads are roughly been about the same. Countywide, there was 2,209 done in 2019, and it was 2,216 in 2018. So, roughly, the same. And in Quincy, the same thing. It was, relatively 239 were recorded in 2018 and 236 in 2019. So people are, at least the word's getting out, record a homestead. And for those that don't know,
and talk about that.
A homestead is, you're allowed by the state legislature, if you own property in Massachusetts and it's your principal residence, to declare an estate a homestead. It's no substitute for good insurance or anything like that, but what it does is, by recording a homestead, and the filing fees are relatively modest, $35, $36 in the land court, you declare an estate a homestead, and it doesn't protect against not paying your taxes. Quincy can take the property by tax title. It doesn't protect against the bank. If you don't pay your mortgage, they can foreclose on you. But maybe there was some type of judgment against you, and what it does for cases like that is it puts the house off limits. They're still going to use the house to try to chase the money from you, but they can't force the sale of your home. So the homestead is a good way of protecting your home, and there's other benefits that have been put in the statute. For instance, if you have a homestead recorded at the registry, when you go to sell your house, the proceeds are protected again for a limited period of time of 1 year. If your house burnt down and the insurance company gave you a check to rebuild, the creditors can't swoop in and go after that money if there's a homestead recorded. There's a limited protection of 2 years. So really, I think it's a good consumer protection statute that's written, and when I started, they've tinkered with it to really try to protect the consumers. For a while there, when you refinanced, you killed your homestead. You didn't even know it. And thank your local legislators. They wrote in language that said, hey, if that language is in these mortgages, it doesn't kill your homestead. So the homestead's a really good thing to be doing, and Quincy Access Television should take a bow, because even though all these statistics are down, homesteads, people are recording the homestead, so that's a good thing.
And we should mention that the homestead protection is automatic, but there is a way to increase the protection, which you would certainly need to do.
Yes, that's a good point. For the first time, and again, thank you local legislators, they've made an automatic homestead here in Massachusetts, but it's only $125,000, and it gets a portion depending on how many people's names are on the deed. When I first started as register, it was $300,000. The legislators have increased it to $500,000 worth of protection, but you can only get that if you declare an estate a homestead. It's a 1 or 2 page document. A lot of times when we're out at office hours, we assist people with the process, and you want to get that recorded because you may as well get more of a protection, than the $125,000. So a lot of people, the house is your biggest asset, protect it. And I wouldn't shortchange it just because you're protected under an automatic homestead. I'd go for that extra level of protection.
Just looking at where we are now, and as we approach the second quarter, what are some concerns that you have at the Registry of Deeds looking into the second quarter?
Well, again, I try to talk to lawyers, I try to talk to real estate brokers, I try to talk to bank personnel, mortgage originators. There are communities that, again, I've given you numbers, and Quincy may be one of those communities where there's limited inventory, so there's still competition. What I'm hearing from the professionals, the lawyers, the title examiners, was that this quarter was slower, and they were a little concerned. So I think everyone's watching what's going to happen in the spring. Now, at the registry, we're ready. I mean, our job at the registry is to handle what comes in, and with the modernization initiatives and with the cooperation of the employees and with introducing like modernization techniques like electronic recording, where where closings can take place here in Quincy and they can just ship it directly to the registry. We're ready for whatever it brings, but I think the concern is it going to be a good spring? Are we going to get more inventory, therefore more sales, and get things going? Are the interest rates going to creep up? That always has an effect. And there's talk that there may not be an increase. The
Correct.
Fed chairman was on 60 Minutes recently. So again, these are out there. I'm always concerned too about foreclosures, and I do want to mention some good news out of the 3 months. That was one statistic that had some good news in it. For instance, on foreclosure deeds, there was 68 countywide in 2018, and in 2019, 36, or down 32. That's 47%. And in Quincy, there were only 6 foreclosure deeds over those January, February, March in 2018, down to 3 in 2019, or 50% drop off. So that's good news. And what is a foreclosure deed? That's at the end of the process. At the Registry of Deeds, we don't deal with foreclosure. What we deal with foreclosures is at the beginning of the process, when people are in trouble. By law, a notice to foreclose has to get recorded at the Registry of Deeds. And we see it at the end. But the good news is we've partnered up with NeighborWorks of Southern Massachusetts, and right here in Quincy you have a resource, a great resource, Quincy Community Action Program. So you have 2 nonprofit groups that will give you assistance if you're facing foreclosure. So please take advantage of it and go to our website at www.norfolkdeeds.org, not only to get information or links to the NeighborWorks of Southern Massachusetts in Quincy Community Action Program, but we also have a link to the Attorney General's office that also provides assistance. And I just talked about the end of the foreclosure process. The beginning of the foreclosure process also had some good news. In 2019, there were 94 notices to foreclose during this last 3-month period countywide. In that same period in 2018, it was 168. So a 44% decrease. And in Quincy, about the same. There was only 12 in 2019. Notices to foreclose, people at the beginning of this foreclosure process. In 2018, there were 13. So that's a good, that's at least a good statistics, because let's face it, I always say, and I might be repeating myself, we're always one bad decision or a health issue or getting laid off to have a struggle with foreclosure. So you hate to see people getting, forced out of their house. But get the help, because those Quincy Community Action Program and NeighborWorks of Southern Massachusetts, they have a component for financial literacy. They're not just, they're looking at the issue, they're looking at the problems, and they'll try to help you transition, if you can't stay in your house, to other housing means. So get that house. You're really lucky to have these groups around Quincy, and take advantage of it if you face a foreclosure.
And you also mentioned the Attorney General. There is a Consumer Advocacy and Response Division, and there is a phone number for that as well. That is 617-727-8400.
Yes, great. And all that information is on our website as well.
Which is?
www.norfolkdeeds.org.
And this would probably be a good time to give out your Consumer Division phone number.
Yes, one of the things we did was create a customer service center. I think, the registry is an arm of government, and sometimes arms of government don't work probably as effectively or efficiently as we want. And we think by starting that customer service center way back, it helps people. So our direct number is 781-461-6101. You can call up them, or check our website for office hours. The mayor of Quincy, Tom Koch, nice enough to let us use the City Hall for office hours. We go around to some of your neighbors, to all your neighbors. We have office hours in all the communities, and we bring our computers. So we are a form of customer service when we're out there at the town halls, or the City Hall here in Quincy, where people, if they need a copy of their deed, if they want to check to see if their mortgages have been paid off. Well, they know they've been paid off, but did a discharge get recorded? And what's that? Well, when people borrow money, loans, the mortgages get recorded at the registry, including your equity lines. But if you're done with the equity line or you paid off your mortgage, you want to make sure that a discharge gets recorded, which tells the world that that loan has been paid off or that equity line has been closed out. Because we see a lot, people coming in, 10, 20 years later saying, I paid that off 20 years ago, and now they're telling me I need to get a discharge. What's that about? And we help people through the process. And you can go to our website or call up our customer service center, because we have links. There's a document, Where Has My Bank Gone?, where we give contact information to the Massachusetts Division of Banking to help you track down where your mortgage has gone. Of course, if you go down to Mike McFarland down at Colonial, you'll get great customer service. Small community banks, I'm a big believer in them. You go down and you'll be taken care of, but people forget. A lot of banks went out of business in the 1990s. Some banks have merged, and a lot of times people are like, I remembered who I was paying the mortgage to, but I can't remember, who held the mortgage.
Right.
Which brings me to another issue, and it's a new spring coming, new beginnings, but it's also a new legislative session. And I want to thank, Senator Keenan on the Senate side filed Senate Bill 960, and it deals with what we were just talking about, discharges. Believe it or not, on the land court side in Massachusetts, you have to record assignments when these residential mortgages get assigned. But you don't have to do it on the recorded land side, which is 80% of Norfolk County. So Senator Keenan, this will be our I think third, maybe fourth legislative session we've tried to get this through, and that's no knock on it's. We have MERS and we have the big banks against us, and it's I coach sports. You win some, you lose some, but we're trying, and I want to thank Senator Keenan. Senate Bill 960 on the Senate side, and House Bill 1453, and co-sponsored by Representative Bruce Ayers and Dan Hunt, that has a sliver of Quincy state rep. And again, what do these two bills do? It requires on a residential mortgage, when that residential mortgage gets assigned, that they just record the assignment. Because
it sounds so simple.
Sometimes the simple things are the hardest things. And the reason why I think they should do that is now people are getting pretty sophisticated with the internet. All our information at Norfolk Registry of Deeds back to 1793 is on the internet. Everything. You want to enter book 1, page 1, you can do it. But people could just look up their mortgages. They could run their names, or if they're not good at that, call our customer service department, or come by, at the Quincy City Hall when we have office hours. I just spoke to the Quincy Rotary. So we're out there doing things in the community, and people can look up and say, oh, there's my mortgage. And if this was law, they could see the assignment recorded and kind of track down where their mortgages have gone.
So what is the pushback? Why the pushback?
Well, I think there's pushback in many respects because, and again, our bill doesn't have any penalties to it. So I think there's pushback from some professionals that are afraid if they don't do it, could there be liability? But they have to do it on the land court side. The land court requires them to do it, so why not do that? I think the real pushback is MERS. MERS, you got to remember, people forget, in 08, 09, some of these big institutions really didn't do the the economy of America any great shakes, in my opinion. And I think sometimes these bigger institutions, the rules don't apply to them. No, the local bank is recording the assignments for the most part, and the bigger institutions are getting better, but that's because they got sued by the Attorney General. Now, I think it should be law because it just would be easier on the consumer. I think part of it is these big institutions, they're quick to collect fees from everybody, but they don't want to pay the recording fees to make sure the assignments get recorded. Or maybe they have collected them and they don't want to do it because keep the costs low.
Right.
There could be any number of reasons.
I was waiting for you to say that.
Yeah, well, sometimes we're nicer the first time, but you hate losing 3 legislative sessions in a row. But it happens, and the good news is, hey, your local legislators have done great jobs. They've done legislation that has allowed us to do electronic recording. They did legislation that clarified titles when it comes to things, when things get recorded, how they get recorded, and they've been very supportive as far as tech fund monies that help us to modernize. So, maybe it's, as I said, I still play hockey. I really shouldn't. It's that competitive, and you got to look at what you accomplished, but every now and then you always look at what you haven't accomplished.
Sure,
because
sure.
Again, we may not prevail this legislative session, but again, a big tip of the hat to the local Quincy legislators who have been supportive of this legislation from the beginning.
I do want to talk about electronic recording, because that, of course, is something that was started how long ago?
Well, we started about 2009 on the recorded land side, the 80% side of Norfolk County. And again, it wasn't even a notion when I became registered, electronic recording. What's that? That wasn't even something you talked about. But with the advent of the technological changes that have taken place in America, we try to embrace technology. Well, the federal government and the state government authorized closings to be done electronically. So again, we always use computers. Of course, when you hand deliver it, you got to use the computers, and that's part of the modernization initiatives that we've done to make the registry a business-oriented environment. But electronic recording, as I mentioned earlier, a lawyer in Quincy can do a closing, go online, check to make sure there's no outstanding liens, and then transmit the deed, the mortgage, the money over the internet. And we go all the way down to Bellingham, to Cohasset, to Brookline. That's what's happening. We have people doing closings in Boston, but it might be for Norfolk County property, transmitting these documents. So we listened to the users. The users wanted it. The Real Estate Bar Association wanted it, and it was a sign of the times. So we've been doing it, and doing it seamlessly. On the recorded land side, your local legislators put legislation through that allowed it now to be expanded to the land court side. So we were one of the first registries in 2017 to do it, and it's grown to about 4 or 5. So Norfolk County was like a pilot program to see how it went on that 20% side, because there's a lot of extra rules with the land court. And one of the rules was you had to take an original, which, of course, if you have to take originals, there's no... The electronic recording is out. That
Right.
was the legislation that got changed by your local legislators and people like Ron Mariano, and you got to thank all your local legislators, Tacky Chan, Bruce Ayers, Representative Hunt, and Senator Keenan. So they recognize, hey, got to change with the times, and so electronic recording. About 45% of our document volume now is electronically on the recorded land side, which is the 80% side. On the 20% side, which is the land court, again, recognizing we just started in 2017, it's grown and it keeps growing, and it's about 25%. Sometimes I think land court's got tough rules. So when I was a closing attorney, I liked going there just to get it done. But I'm hearing people like to do it electronically because if there are rejections or mistakes, people have a better way of solving them from their office, as opposed to you're at the counter and you don't have your office support staff or your the research ability. So
Right.
I'm hearing that even though documents may be getting rejected, if it's done electronically, they can get on it quicker and actually solve the problem and eventually get that document recorded. And they like sending it in electronically because if it's wrong, they can solve it quicker.
And talk about that. Talk about technology and what the registry does as far as computer education.
Oh, yes. Again, we opened the registry. We started this program mainly because we were putting a new document management system, a new computer system in. So, hey, the people that use it, the lawyers, the title examiners, and the engineers, let's open up the registry and have a class about it. And then we said, well, why don't we open it up to everybody? So we get people coming in. Some of them are real estate brokers. Some people are interested in history or genealogy. Some people just want to learn how to do it. And we've even geared it, some computer seminars to government employees. And we had a seminar where some police officers came because they're using the computers to, look at for search warrants and things, who owns the house. So there's a lot of information out there. So we open up the registry to computer seminars. Check our website. We usually do it in the fall and the spring, and some of these specialty groups like the government employees will be an additional night. The spring, we're kind of holding off because we're in the middle of a big renovation project. Our registry was started in 1903. Actually, the legislation started in the late 1800s. It was each year, I guess it was the big dig in Norfolk County, because each year it was a little more money, and but they finally got it opened. They started building it in 1903, but from 1898 to 99, and there was always a recurring bill for more money and all that stuff. Some things don't change, I guess, but the building opened in the building started in 1903, opened in 1905 for business. It was the first elevator, believe it or not, in Dedham was in that building. So a great building, historic building. But we're doing some renovations. Plus, there was water damage from the 2015 storm. So here we are, 4 years later, trying to combat damage from 4 years. Sometimes government doesn't move as quickly, but you keep trying to push the ball over the goal line. So I think people will be pleased with it, and it's something that should be done. Last year was our 225th anniversary. That building was opened. People had the foresight back in the late 1800s to buy the building and finally get the building constructed, and it's for everyone for Norfolk County. So that renovation project is running through the spring, which is making it a little hard to schedule a computer seminar, but we will.
I do want to end with some consumer protection talk, and let's talk about first of all the Consumer Notification Service, and then just briefly talk about there are a bunch of scams out there, and just for the consumer to protect themselves.
Well, the Consumer Notification Service, I think, is something every consumer here in Norfolk County, at least we make it available. We're the first registry to do a Consumer Notification Service, and I've signed up myself. I sign up, and any document that gets through the registry recorded, sometimes even touched on back indexes that has a William O'Donnell in it, I get an email. Now, I got an email for a William F. O'Donnell. I'm William P. O'Donnell. Well, I check on it. Well, it doesn't pertain to me. Now, the reason we did the Consumer Notification Service is the FBI says that deed and property fraud is one of the fastest growing white-collar crimes. Well, wonder if I get that email, and all of a sudden I look online, or I call customer service if I'm not good with the computer at 781-461-6101, and all of a sudden I'm like, well, wait a minute. That's the deed to my house, but I didn't sign that. Or that's a loan, it shouldn't happen, but it could. That's a mortgage. I didn't sign that document. We haven't prevented the fraud. There is no way we're going to prevent that fraud. And I haven't seen it in Norfolk County yet, but it's happening around the United States. And recently it happened in Philadelphia. Well, with that notification, we can get you in touch with the law enforcement agencies so you can combat that fraud right away and get the law enforcement agencies to start investigating and hopefully prosecute whoever's perpetuating that fraud. So again, the biggest asset's your home. For me, no one likes emails, but I'm willing to put up with getting that email, and I've gotten notices. It has nothing to do with me because there's a lot of William O'Donnells out there. But that one time, I want to protect my biggest asset, my home. So that's how we've set it up. As far as other scams, they're not as big as stealing your home like that, but we've had deed scams. A group out there for $86, they'll get you a copy of your deed and other information you probably can get free from your Quincy Assessing Department. Another group targets elderly for $15. They'll give you a blank homestead form. They don't even fill it out for you. If you need a homestead form, go to our website. You can download it free. Or, again, when we're at office hours, we bring the homestead forms with us if you need copies of some. So there's a lot of scams out there. But you don't want someone to perpetuate the biggest scam, which is on your home. So make sure you should consider the Consumer Notification Service.
Well, I want to thank you for stopping by. This was an information-packed half hour.
It goes by quick. Thanks
to you. We will naturally have you back at the end of the next quarter and give us a further update.
Well, hopefully, like the Red Sox, they'll be doing better, and hopefully the statistics will be better. But we'll see.
I think the Sox lost. Well, they lost last night.
They did.
They didn't even score one run.
Well,
right?
Things will get better.
Okay. Thanks again, Bill.
Okay. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you at home for watching. You have been watching a program of Quincy Access Television. Please continue to watch QATV for more locally produced programming.